Welcome to this Connect M3 News Byte podcast recorded on the 29th of November 24. I'm David Charles and my News Byte today is titled Debate on a New Election. Given what's happened in recent times, we can say that politics and politicians fail to serve us. Do we now change the system? Well, let's consider this. In July 2024, PM Rishi Sunak decided to call a general election. People were amazed at that decision since he didn't need to under the current system. Every Tory thought him nuts, but was it time for change in direction? There are people who think between the lines and join dots. These people say they're critical thinkers. Others say they are conspiracy theorists. And who says who is right? Well, one might suggest it will be those who amass the most convincing argument, supported by evidence as presented in open debate. But the people accused of conspiracies won't debate. Is this a clue? Well, since the last election, in which Labour won a landslide victory, the UK PM, Keir Starmer, has become the most unpopular PM in a very long time. His approval ratings have dived below that of Nigel Farage, a man who could become king one day, some say. Read that for the Prime Minister. To be honest, this isn't an unusual occurrence, since every incoming PM says pretty much the same thing on taking over the reins of government for an opposition party. PM Starmer says that he had to fix the country's finances, since the financial situation inherited from the ex-PM Sunak was worse than thought. Starmer said he had to make tough decisions, yes, but he also had to make the right ones. But we can all see just how bad the finances must be, with the billions being spent on dealing with waves of migrants, with the billions spent on stoking a war with Russia, with the billions being spent supporting Israel's crushing of neighbouring states. Something had to give. PM Starmer and his Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, struck their first blow on winter fuel allowances. At this point, I have to voice a thought on the subject of open debate. If the people of the UK want to change the current system, referring to how we do the government thing, what if, in future, the country's finances are laid out for all politicians to see, cutting out any more disappointing surprises for incoming PMs? And the whole country got to see those finances, beginning with what is spent on what. Imagine the open debate that would cause. And then the country got to express an opinion on who we should be fighting in this world, or who we should be supporting. Keep in mind that PM Starmer has long been supporting his counterpart in Israel, who is now wanted in the International Criminal Court on charges of genocide, no less. The people of the UK could submit a vote of no confidence in the government at any time. And have it debated in a way that would allow for these people to be sacked. And who might do that? So there's a few things, 4 things in fact, we could consider in changing the current system. And this point brings us to Michael Westwood. Michael Westwood is just one of us, really. A small business owner who, we learn, voted Tory in the last election, but has measured PM Starmer and his government against what they said they would do if Labour won the July election. Seeing that Starmer is well off his roadmap after just 4 months in office, measured against his own manifesto, Michael Westwood raised a parliamentary petition. Doing such means the petition must be debated in Parliament if 100,000 signatures are gathered in support thereof, but only if there aren't good reasons not to do so. Reasons like, we've already debated this subject, and won't again, will block a current system commitment. a system that could be handy. Incidentally, in Switzerland, if a petition of 100,000 signatures is presented to Parliament about proposed legislation, the whole country gets to take part in a referendum, no less. Now here's another thought for us, right here, adding to our list on the subject of current systems and amendment ideas that could be made. It's here I'm reminded of another petition raised in the autumn of 2022, which amassed 107,000 signatures. There was a debate in Parliament on the petition. It could hardly have been on any more serious a topic, but what transpired was a shock to me, being uninitiated in these archaic practices of the current systems as I've come to see them. Firstly, the petition was debated in Parliament and not by Parliament. It's a subtle difference, but means this. The debate is conducted in a committee room by a few interested SMPs, that's Servant Member of Parliament. It is not debated by all 650 SMPs, Servant Member of Parliament, sitting in the Commons chamber. Well, what could possibly go wrong? A misdirection of the public, possibly. Do read the account of that debate. It reveals something people don't know. It's an article titled, and they call this a debate, and the reference is M-2455MA. But now I return eagerly to Michael Westwood, who in just a few short days has gathered the support of over 2 million signatures. As I write, the number is now closing in on 3 million signatures, no fewer. Those 3 million people, with Labour voters among them, I judge, including previous winter fuel allowance recipients, agreed to this assertion by Michael Westwood, which he says, I would like there to be another general election. I believe the current Labour government have gone back on the promises they laid out in the lead up to the last election. That's an end of quote. Nick Ferrari spoke with Michael about his petition, asking what motivated him and what he thinks might happen or not. You can listen to that interview by routing to the PDF version of this podcast. The truth is, there will not be another election called due to this petition. Only a minor group of interested servant members of Parliament will present themselves on the due date, now set for the 6th of January 25, at the end of which I gather PM Starmer has said there will not be a vote. How interesting. PM Starmer also said in Parliament, in PMQs in relation to the petition, the current system was followed last July, when his party won, as he reminds us. And there we have it, mentioned again, the current system. Shall we all think about how this current system might be changed? Rather than change it, personally, my vote would be to dump it, in favour of starting again. And speaking of voting, I should just mention where I stand on voting. I quote, due to the current system, which presents nothing in the shop window which I am happy to support or buy into, I haven't bought into the current system for more than 2 decades of elections. I am waiting, speaking in support even, for a new current system. End of quote. I should think of raising a petition perhaps, but how many of us might support it? For a new system? I am caused to wonder. On a final note, in the opening paragraphs, I asked the question, I quote, was it time for a change in direction? End of quote. Here, I wasn't referring specifically to a possible change in direction for the current system, but rather something else. I wonder how many of us, the critical thinking types, see a pattern of behaviour in all manner of things in political and corporate circles. They're highlighted by a joining of the dots, suggesting that these political moves are far more orchestrated than many would even believe. If some of this critical thinking is correct, and on the money, which some say has so much to do with it, then we could one day be looking at burning off Parliament itself, as it is, in favour of starting that again too. It would be good to listen to and watch O'Keefe Media Group talking about what goes on in the higher realms of government and corporates. That too can be checked out by going to the PDF version of this article. Thank you for listening to this News Byte today. I hope it's given you further things to think about on this, again, another important topic. For further information on this and related topics, do check out the PDF version of this, my article, which is NB4482A for alpha. NB4482A for alpha. It contains a number of links to supporting articles, plus links to many other enlightening and fascinating articles on a variety of topics. Meanwhile, I look forward to sharing my next News Byte with you very soon. Goodbye.